Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews from Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia. You're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 10 years now, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with Michael Poates, the president of Gatti's Pizza. And for nearly half a century, Gatti's has been satisfying cravings. The Gatti's Pizza brand is in the midst of a huge growth period as they introduce new prototypes at a record number of new locations, an updated brand, and new products, all on the heels of their recent convention. We're going to talk to Michael about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
The Stone Coat Franchise Opportunity. Are you looking for a unique and lucrative franchise opportunity? If so, take a look at Stone Coat. With a patented process which creates a true stone finish on almost any wall or ceiling, Stone Coat is a true game-changing product in the multi-billion-dollar construction industry. Stone Coat is applied faster, cleaner, and cheaper than conventional quarried stone, which saves both time and money. With advantages in remodel and new construction of both residential and commercial projects, Stone Coat is a true crossover product. The Stone Coat franchise opportunity provides a low startup cost, low operating expenses, comprehensive training, ongoing support, and no royalty payments. For more information on the Stone Coat franchise opportunity, go to www.stonecoatfranchise.com. That's www.stonecoatfranchise.com, or call us at 972-380-2700. That's 972-380-2700.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews from Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia. You're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 10 years now, we've been asking the Franchpreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with Michael Poates, the president of Gatti's Pizza. And for nearly half a century, Gatti's has been satisfying cravings. Hi, Michael. How are you? Welcome to the show.
I am doing great, thank you. My last name pronounces Poates. It's like
Poates. I'm sorry about
E
that.
in front of it.
Oh, I butchered that one, didn't I?
Well, you know what though? If I wasn't butchering at least one name a week, it wouldn't mean that I wasn't trying. You know, so I thank you so much for having us today on the show. We're privileged to be here, and I look forward to speaking with you about the Gatti's brand, and really just how much fun we're having in reinvigorating the brand and beginning to grow.
That's fantastic. It does seem like there's a lot going on at Gatti's right now, which is why I wanted to have you on the show, Michael. We always like to ask our guests, where are you calling from today?
Well, so I am out in Fort Worth, Texas, right downtown Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay, and where's the headquarters for Gatti's? Is that where you are as well, Michael? Correct.
So we're really right in the museum district of Fort Worth, right in downtown Fort Worth.
That's fantastic. It was interesting in studying your background, because we do a lot of homework before we have the guest on the show, Michael. It seems like, your calling at a very early age was towards the restaurant industry. I thought you had an amazing experience. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, as far as how you got involved in the restaurant industry and, how you got to Gatti's today?
Well, I'll tell you, my dad grew up in the restaurant business, and he at a very young age worked with Jack in the Box, and when I would get home in the evenings and see him tuckered out, I'd say to myself, that is certainly something that I am not going to want to do.
Right.
Guess what? I was running a Jack in the Box at a very young age, and once it was in my blood, that's just what I wanted to do. And so I've owned and operated a number of different concepts, and really, and from a credential piece, focused more on the culinary arts side of the business, and have spent my entire life doing this. And the last 10 years have, not only have I had the privilege of working for some great companies, but additionally, they've provided me a lot of professional growth opportunity. And, from, what I would have to say is I started with Papa John's Pizza and spent, over 3 years with them, left as a director of operations here in Fort Worth, and then went to work for Whataburger Restaurants, which I feel is one of the best hamburger systems in the United States. It's certainly my favorite, and I learned quite a bit from them. We, at one time, our group, we were the second largest franchise of Dairy Queen in the world, and when we bought this brand, when we looked at the Gatti's brand, the thing I think principally reached out to us was that it, at that time, was a 46-year-old brand that had a lot of great memories and stories associated with it. And, we really got excited about that. We started listening to the stories and the memories, and, the brand just needed, to be re-energized and reinvigorated, and that's what we've spent the last 24 months, working towards.
And that's what impressed me as well, Michael. When I was studying Gatti's, it's amazing, how they've been around such a long time now. We've done over 500 of these shows, and I got to tell you, there's not a lot of brands that have really been around that long, so it says a lot about, Gatti's itself, and the brand, and that's part of what, you're getting when you're buying a franchise is that history, isn't it?
Well, it really is, and that's the comfort that you just can't buy. The pizza segment, I believe, I looked up a few numbers today so that I could look a little, I could sound a little smarter maybe than I really am. And so I looked up, I wanted to know how big the industry was. 2015 was the last solid number that I could pull. So the segment of pizza generally at $44.43 billion, right? And that's a lot. That's a huge market share. Every business fighting for their slice of that pie. So our brand at, coming in on its 48th birthday now, that's huge, and we've been around for quite some time. So we're not trying to be the newest, the freshest, millennial-friendly restaurant on the block. We are really focused on providing a great family experience for families, and that's the one demographic that will always be here on our planet.
Right.
As we continue to grow, we will always have families, and so that's what we really strive to offer, just a fabulous guest experience for mom and dad and for the children, and a great memory that a family would want to crave again and come back to.
And that's where the new product line sounds like it comes in, Michael. I'm talking about a lot of these exciting changes that are taking place with Gatti's. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that, what the company is doing today as far as, what they weren't doing in the past.
Well, one of the things that we wanted to do is really re-energize our platform. And so what typically happens is you go to R&D and you look for, those home runs, those silver bullets.
Right.
And I think you've been doing this long enough to know, just like I do, that there's just no such thing out there, that silver bullet. And so we went to our roots. We went back to when the brand was its largest and when it was its most defined. And we looked at what were the points of difference at that particular juncture, and then we drove the brand back to those points of interest. And so we still, we do things different. We use an aged provolone, smoked provolone cheese. We use a Heinz fresh packed 4 hours from harvest sauce that just can't be beat. We make our dough fresh every single day in the morning. Those things, you just don't see that as often as you used to. And so we have a passion with our pizza product, and we kind of jokingly say that if you could find a cheaper pizza, great, but you would have to eat it. And that's really where we put our money where our mouth is that we just, I think, have a fabulous product.
That's clever. And you have a buffet now, too, don't you, Michael? I guess, of course, that appeals to, as you said, like the families, which is, your main target audience. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that. What are some of your favorites when you go into a Gatti's, because you go into a lot of them, don't you?
Absolutely. I try to spend more time. I can tell you, I personally don't believe there's a lot that happens, in the ivory tower that is as impactful as being in the businesses, interacting with the guest. It's that 48 inches between our front counter and production area where the magic happens in our business, and that's where, our leadership spends our time. And, I think when you look at the brand as a whole, we've defined it on two very specific platforms, our Family Fast Casual platform and our Gatti's Pizza Family Entertainment Center platform. And so those are the brands. And, when you're looking at the Family Fast Casual side, you're looking at a very reasonably priced menu with an excellent variety for every family member. We still do group events and birthday parties, fundraisers, and spirit nights. But we also offer family-appropriate games. And we have a square footage range to develop from 3,800 to 6,800. And we feel like that platform would be great at any town, urban or rural. But what's really interesting is there are a lot of states that we're looking to franchise into that have never had the Gatti's brand in that state. And so there are a lot of folks that might not want to, from an investment perspective, get involved on the buffet side of the business, and this offers a great opportunity for those folks.
So it sounds like Gatti's is also an experience as well, isn't it, Michael? In addition to the great product, as you were talking about, I mean, people or customers are getting an experience as well, when they come to a Gatti's, aren't they?
Well, that's what we strive to deliver each day, and we look at each one of those opportunities as key guest contact points. And so, when mom and dad, let's say, walk in, or family members or friends walk in, we want to offer them a range of opportunities, whether it's wine or an icy cold schooner. We want to offer them a great pizza, whether it's served in a buffet setting or in our Family Fast Casual. And then on top of that, we just love family-appropriate games, including in a lot of our locations, the world's largest Pac-Man video game. And that's huge. And we overlay that with integrated technology, like online ordering, Facebook, and, obviously Android and Apple apps. And so, that brings the package together for us.
It's very clever, Michael, because, we go out for pizza, because we don't have a Gatti's here in Pennsylvania, but, when we typically, we have my wife and my son, we're just kind of like sitting there at the table and we're just waiting for the pizza to come, and then that's it, So it really is. It was what fascinated me about the Gatti's model, was the whole experience. So, I think it's really clever. And you mentioned all these exciting things that are, going on with. I guess we could talk about, social media and technology. I mean, technology is a lot different today with Gatti's instead of going back, 30, 40 years ago, when the company first began, isn't it?
It really is. But I'll tell you the one thing that stayed the same.
Mm-hmm.
The looking a guest in the eye with a smile and shaking their hand and getting to know them by name. And so that's still around. That's still in our DNA. But when you talk about guest engagement for us now, you're talking about national loyalty program that includes gift cards as well. And then we use a lot of primary social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and Snapchat. And then we're also into, the target digital advertising with Yelp, and Google AdWords, Facebook interaction, LSMing with fresh content and copywriting. But one of the things that's fun for us is the last couple of years, we've really gotten involved with the non-traditional venues. And so, for instance, we are the primary food sponsor down at University of Texas in Austin. And so on a game day, we're selling 2,000 plus pizza rolls. That's incredible. And
that's amazing.
We're doing the same thing up here in Texas Christian University, TCU, and we're anchoring their Frog Alley with a trailer, pizza trailer, which I'm hoping to have that trailer making pizzas, well, let's say 6 days a week right now, just to let everybody have a day off. But we are excited about that as well.
That's fantastic. I'm sure the founder of the company, I forget his name, is it Yuri, Mr. Yuri? Michael, I'm sure he would be fascinated to see where the organization is today, compared to, when it first started.
Well, you know what, Mr. Yuri and his wife, actually the namesake of the company, her maiden name was Gatti. And so
oh, really? Okay, that's where it came.
His wife, Patty Gatti, just attended our second convention as the new owners. And I think that, we introduced her, and I said, Patty, I wanted you to meet your family, your extended family. And so right before she walked in, unbeknownst to her, we turned all of our franchisees around, and our convention was here in Grapevine, Texas, at the Gaylord Hotel, and we had a near 90% attendance rate, which was huge for our community. But we all took a smiley photo for Patty Gatti, and when she walked in that day, we were able to hand her that picture and let her know she was loved and that we appreciated the legacy that they left us. And, so I think you would see a lot of that alive visually and both feel it and see it at our locations today.
One of the questions we ask our guests, Michael, is what's been one of the most interesting things that's happened to you, since joining Gatti's? And I'm sure that had to be one of them, wasn't it?
I'd say that really was. And I'll tell you another interesting thing. When we bought the company, one of the most profound positives, it was the durability, the tenacity, and the hard-charging can-do attitude of our franchisees. That was not only a blessing, but it had a profound impact on, us buying the company and how it's performed since acquisition. And, we just had a franchisee, unfortunately, go through a major flood in their location this last year in Louisiana, and his name was Mr. Moody, and Phil Moody and his family, they were able to get that location back up and running like a phoenix. And the first week of sales after it had closed set company records. And
that's amazing.
And so we went down there not only to let them know how proud we were and support this endeavor, but the impact that opening that restaurant had on the rest of the community in telling everybody that it's going to be okay and we're going to get through this, and the example that he had set and the love that the community had for that restaurant, their Gatti's, that visit probably meant more to me than any particular thing that I've been involved with, and I've had some pretty profound happenings, and I'd say that's probably one of my most favorite stories to tell.
Yeah, that is an amazing story. We've heard a lot of the stories on over 10 years, and that's definitely one of my favorites. That is a fantastic story. So the majority of our listeners, Michael, we call them aspiring franchipreneurs. It seems like most of our listeners, they have it set in their mind that, they do want to get involved in franchising. What types of characteristics, then, do you look for in your franchise? You kind of hinted on some of them.
Well, from our perspective, we're always looking for experienced multi-unit restaurant operators and area developers to join our franchise community. We have started just when we first bought the company, we were getting about 5 calls a month, and now I would say that we're averaging maybe 100 to 150 real interested calls a month.
Right.
And
wow.
We're really, as we talked about taking a different approach and defining our future by revisiting our past and connecting to a latency at a time and place where the brand had optimal market share and recognition. And so as our goal in launching this new franchise effort is to reconnect the brand to a loyal and passionate customer base that have now become parents. So one of the most unique things that I'll say, and there are many of them, we have hardworking folks in the franchise side, is to use the original customer base and introduce the brand to them as guests and potential franchisees. There's not a week that goes by that we don't have a guest that grew up with the Gattis in a college town that's looking now to invest in their future, and that has become a huge opportunity for us to grow the business with, and we're very grateful for it.
And it's interesting in having the two different models as well, Michael. Is you have the buffet family entertainment center, and then you got the family fast casual. Maybe you could expand a little bit on that. When you get prospects, calling in, are you steering them towards one or the other, or are you kind of, educating them on the differences between both? Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think the first thing we do that's a little different is we just listen. And we find out what they know about the brand, and we listen to the stories and the memories that they have about their experience with the brand. And then, at that point in time, we decide what direction they're going to go. We really want them to come down and experience the brand here, in the Dallas-Fort Worth market, where we've really invested capital to grow and define our future. So we really don't push any one direction. It's based on the unit economics, where they're putting the location, and whether or not there's latency in that market. If they are going to a location where there were a lot of restaurants that have closed, then this is a great opportunity to reintroduce the Gatti's buffet. And so we encourage that. But locations that we haven't had a history in states that we have never done business, this family fast casual is an excellent business model for them to consider. And one of the things that's most unique about the brand, and it was the first thing that we looked at, was there was a point in time where the Gatti's brand was over 300 locations strong. And, so you have to, as an investor in your due diligence, scratch your head and wonder why the change. And we really learned that the brand, as it closed locations, those closures were based on a complete lack of succession planning. And that's, we're hitting that hard here now as we grow and, working contingency plans for the locations where owners might be aging out of the system, and what does succession plan look like, and that just wasn't something that was paid attention to prior. And so that gives us a great opportunity to continue this growth and to keep our restaurant count up. Our goal is to be over 200 restaurants in the next 60 months, and that's a lofty goal. And I know you've had a lot of people sit in this seat and say that, but I can tell you right now we are probably sitting on leads that are in excess of 40 locations for the next 12 trailing months that we have the opportunity to open. And so it's really getting busy for us.
That's terrific. And are you looking to expand throughout the rest of the country, Michael? I know you're pretty much dominant in a certain area of the country. Are you looking to kind of like just keep expanding throughout the United States?
That's correct. We really are. We're just going to stay where we're concentrated right now is where we're really excited to grow. Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, and then we're just really looking to fill in the blanks and go. Right now, we'd like to go as far west as Arizona, Nevada, and Idaho, and maybe as far east as the Carolinas and Georgia, and fill it all in as we head north. And these offer us a great opportunity to grow. And so we're as excited about having a multi-unit area developer as a partner as we are of having an owner-operator who gets up every day and ignites their restaurant with their personal passion. So either way, for us, we're excited.
That's terrific. What is the training like, Michael? Once you decide, that you like them, they like you, and they do come on board as a franchisee, do they typically come down to headquarters then? Is that where the training begins?
Yes. And so what we'll have is we'll have discovery days, and we'll really want to get them involved in the locations and the business so that they understand that the restaurant business, there are a lot of people that have made a lot of money, but it's been a lot of hard work for those individuals. I can vouch for that. And our training is 6 weeks. So we will run you through every position. Our training is web-based. It's a learning a web-based learning system that's modularized. So you'll go through each position and test and train out with competency. Then we have a Phase 2 leadership program that not only teaches you how to run the business from a controls perspective, it also imparts some of the soft skills necessary, to manage a business, to recruit effectively, and to help market your business effectively. And then so that's really how that goes. And then on top of that, we provide grand opening support, and we'll come in and provide the additional safety net of a very experienced team of franchise business consultants and trainers and marketeers, and they'll come and be on property, on site to help support an opening.
What's a typical day like, would you say, for a Gatti's Pizza franchisee, Michael?
Well, so if you are a typical Gatti's Pizza franchisee, you like coffee because you are getting up right alongside of the sun because you want to be in your restaurant's first thing to make dough. We like to have our dough rise 3 times before we put it through the oven, and so everybody in the company is doing our act of love, our work of love, and that is making our dough fresh each day for our guests. And so that's how that begins. And then it moves through you're making sure that you cover your tasking, your food ordering, your scheduling, your training, talking your employees into position, training them, talking them out of position, and then really positioning yourself to be an ambassador for that business, front and center, shaking hands and getting to know your guests, which I will tell you that I am so proud of our franchisees. They most of the guests are known by first name, and in many instances, pizzas are already in the oven as Mrs. Jones is walking through the building because they have formed that type of relationship. To frequency at a restaurant and to grow, that frequency is a byproduct of trust.
Sure.
And a byproduct of a great relationship. And those soft skills, those are some of the most important things that you'll learn, not only in our training, but you'll learn it when you get out and you start operating your own locations.
That's a fun part of the business too, isn't it, Michael? You've been doing this a long time now, but I guess those, value-laden relationships that you have with your customers is probably the joy, or one of the joys of the business, isn't it?
It is to me. There are things that I really enjoy. Okay, so I enjoy seeing somebody work hard for a franchise owner and then have the opportunity to take a franchise over themselves and run it into the future and pay it forward. I love seeing the team that works for us from a corporate perspective grow professionally, and I love to see professional growth. But I think the thing that I love most is to put myself behind the counter at a restaurant or at another table and watch the faces of our guests when they try our pizza. That's the meaningful piece. It's just like having people in your own house. And
sure,
they'll give you the cursory, "Oh, dinner was great, thank you for having us." But when you're serving that meal and you're staring them in the eyes, they don't know it, and they give that full nod of happiness and this feeling that you've really just delivered above expectation. That's where that heartfelt meaning is passed through, and that's the reward that you get every day that most restaurants and most restaurateurs know all about. And it has nothing to do with money. It has to do with just delivering passion and a great guest experience for your guests.
If you and I were in a Gatti's Pizza right now, Michael, what would you recommend to me, or what would you order if we were with each other right now?
I would order a Carne Trio flatbread, which is a crispy flatbread pizza with a little bit of a snap to it. And then Carne Trios are our three favorite meats, but there's always one meat that's not included that I kind of view as adult candy, and that is bacon. So I would add, do a Carne Trio with bacon as an additional topping and a side of jalapenos, just in case you had somebody that didn't want to have the jalapeno actually cooked on their pizza. And then I would serve that with our fresh ranch dressing that's been made at our location that morning. And I'm telling you, this stuff is so good that if no one was looking, you would want to take a big spoonful of it. It's as good as any soup you've had. This stuff is fantastic. And so we love to dip our pizza in that, and that's probably one of my favorite things. In Flavor Magazine, if we were voted the 105th best menu item in the country, were our pizza rolls. And those are just delightful.
Really?
Yes. And again, on the pizza roll, they gave us the 105 based on the pepperoni. So cheers, Mr. Pepperoni. But I will tell you, again, if you just simply add the jalapeno and the bacon to that pizza roll, you turn it into just more than just a culinary experience. It's something that you won't.
You've been in franchising such a long time now, Michael. When we have guests like yourself on the show, we always like to ask them, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise? Because as you know, there's so much out there today, and it can be a little bit overwhelming for someone who is new to starting their search in franchising. So from everything you've learned up to this point, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise?
First and foremost, make sure you do your homework. Number one, you have to do your homework on what you're going to get involved with. And you need to really be sure that this is something that you want to do, that you enjoy, that you have passion. Okay, so would Michael Poates own a Swedish meatball company? No, probably not, because I would not have passion about it. I would eat them gladly, but I would not want to make it every day. And I think that that's something you have to look hard at is, are you going to have a passion for this business, and is this something you're going to enjoy doing? And then I tell folks to really take a hard look at the item 19s In the franchise agreements, make sure that you understand the true costs of opening up a location and how important that is, because you don't want surprises for your own pro forma or your investors. And, I really make sure that you set aside enough money. There's two more things. Enough money to operate the business for a year. It's important, because what happens is life, and there are always surprises that will change trajectory, and you want to have that capital to stay in the business and manage through those objectives. I'd say the last piece, and probably I think one of the most important pieces, is take the emotion out of your site selection and make sure that when you are selecting a site for your location, you keep it at 8 to 10% of what your pro forma sales are going to be. And then wake up the next morning, look in the mirror and smile, and tell yourself that you're good enough that you can go ahead and add more sales so that the price of a particular piece of land or a lease will work. That's the number one gotcha that I see. The people who build the shock analytic into their business analysis on the front side are the ones that really kind of do their homework first, and they prevent themselves from having issues on the backside. And so I think it's mission critical. Guess what? If you budget a restaurant and you have a 10% rent maximum, and your restaurant sales exceed a very, very conservative sales pro forma, then you're bringing that money in, hopefully in a flow-through fashion, where 65% of it's dropping to the bottom line. That's when you start having magical revenue, and that's how I think you run the business. And so from my perspective, I'd always coach people to be very careful with their lease choices. You're going to be in those for quite some time, and make the right decision on the front side.
That's fantastic advice. What's the best way for our listeners, Michael, to get more information on Gatti's as a franchise opportunity and even the product itself? Are there any websites that you'd like them to go to?
Well, you have www.gattispizza.com.
Okay.
You also have Gatti'sPizzaFranchising.com. So either one of those will provide a great platform. Then, you can reach out directly to our corporate office. We have a gentleman, Jack Sibley, who handles all of our franchising. He does a wonderful job with that, and you can send him an email, and he'd get back to you probably same day and, help steer you through. But our website's the best place to start, and it'll help answer some questions right away.
It's a great website, by the way, too, Michael. I've been on it for, several days now, and it really is fantastic. It's very informative, and it tells the story, and it makes you a bit hungry. So you've done a great job with that.
It does exactly what I hoped it would do.
Well, I've enjoyed having you on the show today, Michael. It's been a privilege to finally have you on the show, and I'd already like to invite you back next year, because it sounds like it's going to be an exciting couple of years at Gatti's, isn't it?
Well, we would be honored to attend another show, and I do believe in my heart we're going to have a big year this year. This is the year that we're going to light that torch and really start to build the brand back to its prior glory. So
that's fantastic.
Thank you for having us. And
it's been my pleasure, Michael. It's been my pleasure. And we'll be right back with more franchise interviews. Coming up on segment 2, you're going to hear what every franchipreneur needs to know before buying a franchise. We're going to play a clip from our popular Great Quotes in Franchising podcast right here on Franchise Interviews.
Are you looking for a franchise that delivers? Businesses will always need shipping, and for more than 25 years, loyal customers have depended on Unishippers for reliable savings and exceptional customer service. Unishippers is focused on just one thing: helping small and medium-sized businesses save time and money on all their shipping needs. And as the largest reseller of complete shipping services in the country, we have the buying power to ensure that we succeed. The Unishippers franchise offers Low startup costs, no equipment or real estate required because they're not retail, residual income, and a quality of life and work-life balance. For more information on becoming a Unishippers franchisee, go to www.unishippers.com and click Franchise Opportunities or call Franchise Development at 801-708-5822. That's 801-708-5822. Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 8 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Today's Great Quote in Franchising is being brought to you by
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com. Or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi, everyone. This is Marty McDermott, the president of Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. You know, we've been hosting Franchise Interviews many years now, and during that time, we've had some incredible quotes on our show. Today, you're going to get to hear from Nick Friedman, who is the founder of College Hunks Hauling and Junk and Moving Franchise Opportunity. And Nick said something really quite brilliant on our show that we haven't heard in over a decade of doing franchise interviews. We started speaking about the 4 F's of franchising, and interesting enough, we ended up with 5 F's of franchising as we were doing the interview with Nick. And, you know, in marketing, we talk about the 4 P's of marketing, which is product, price, promotion, and place. So I thought this was really brilliant what Nick said. So here we go with Nick Friedman, the founder of College Hunks Hauling and Junk Moving Franchise Opportunity. History. What, you know, the majority of our listeners, we call them, Nick, we call them aspiring franchipreneurs. What types of characteristics do you look for in your franchisees?
You know, what I like to say is there's 4 F's when considering a franchise, which is also, I guess, starts with a letter F. So, you know, there's 4 F's that come out of franchise. And I think this is what a prospective franchise should think of when they're considering what franchise they want to pursue. And this is, quite frankly, I think what franchisors should consider when they're evaluating a prospective franchisee. So the first F is fit. You know, do they fit? In other words, do they have transferable skills that can make them effective at this business? Have they done anything in their prior professional or personal lives that would make them be successful in this type of business. The second piece is the family side. In other words, does their family support them in them pursuing this endeavor, whether it's their husband or wife or kids or parents? Do they believe in them? Because you don't want things to get tough in their inner circle to say, I told you so. You want them to, kind of cheer them on to get through it. The financial piece is important. In other words, are they capitalized to be able to invest in the opportunity, and do they have realistic financial expectations? And then the last F is the fun factor. Can we have fun working with this individual? Franchising is very much like a partnership, even though that's not typically called that. You got to have, an alignment of vision and values to be able to enjoy working together. So that's really what we look for. We want people that believe in the secret sauce that we've already developed. We don't want somebody to come tell us that they think it should be done differently. We want them to tell us that they believe in what we've created. And sure, we would, want to continuously improve and encourage ideas, but we want folks that believe in the system and are going to execute the system rather than trying to shortcut success by doing it their own way. And I think that's, really no different in our system than any other franchise model that is going to be successful long term. They need to really take into account those factors.
That's great, Nick. We have this great quotes and franchising podcast. Anytime we hear, Michael Gerber's been in there a couple of times, but we're going to put that one in there because I haven't heard that in over a decade, and I think that's great advice to our listeners. It's really fantastic because it's true. I mean, you could really, your business, you could teach to anybody, couldn't you? I mean, pretty much, but it's interesting in putting those factors in there, like family support, and even fun. I haven't heard that, but it should be an enjoyable business. And, because it is a stressful situation for the customers, I guess you got to be able to put a smile on your customer's face, don't you?
Absolutely. And I mean, as you know, there's over 3,000 franchise opportunities out there. So, what's going to separate one from the other? It's got to be something that you can enjoy. And I guess I'll grab another F out of there. I'm on a roll here. Fulfillment. Is it something that, we're going to be fulfilled doing day in and day out? Because I think franchising is a lot like a gym membership. If you join the gym, you've got fitness goals. You're getting access to all types of equipment, personal trainers, coaches, workout groups, but you still got to go and show up and do the work. So if you buy a franchise, you're getting access to the business model in a box. You're getting access to trainers, coaches, fellow franchisees that you can, hold each other accountable with, but you still got to show up and put in the effort to execute that business model. So that's where I think those factors come into play.
Once you decide that, you do like them, and they like you, Nick, and there is a fit, what is the training like? I mean, do they typically come to Florida for training? How does that work? If you'd like to hear that whole interview with Nick Friedman of the College Hunks Hauling and Junk Moving franchise opportunity, all you have to do is go to cravings.com, go to our franchise interviews by category page, and then go to our home repair and improvements page, and you will be able to listen to that whole show with Nick Friedman. It was really a fantastic interview. It was great to finally have Nick on the show. And lastly, we'd just like to thank everyone for making this podcast such a big hit. It's hard to imagine. We've been doing it now over 10 years, and it's just amazing to see where the podcast has gone. So thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes and Franchising, sponsored by Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.